Hello everyone, welcome to Lukman IAS. Today we are going to have the Hindu analysis of 14th October 2020. So let us see which are the important articles in today's the Hindu newspaper. Yes, we have segregated them for men's purpose and for films purpose. So let us see which are these important articles. Let us try to take input for our examination. So yes, first article from page number 6, editorial page. The context of the article, that yes, we know that recently there has been conflict going on between two countries, Armenia and Azerbaijan, in South Caucasus mountainous region, and we have to understand what is this conflict, the background of the conflict, and the threat of wider conflict that can spread in that region. Okay, so that we have to understand as a significant international event now at present. Okay, so the ongoing fight between the Armenian rebels and Azerbaijan army in Nagorno-Karabakh region. So we have to remember this region, Nagorno-Karabakh region, a self-declared republic within the Azerbaijan, risks becoming a wider regional conflict. So yes, today we have not added that map, but earlier 2 times we have in detail discussed about the map of this disputed Nagorno-Karabakh region. Okay, so yes. So background of the conflict, the region largely populated by ethnic Armenians is located within the international boundaries of Azerbaijan. Which region? This Nagorno-Karabakh region, largely populated by ethnic Armenians and is located within the international boundaries of Azerbaijan. So under the Soviet Union, it was autonomous province that was part of Azerbaijan Republic. In 1988, when Soviet power was receding, the Regional Assembly of Nagorno-Karabakh voted to join Armenia. This triggered the ethnic clashes. Okay, so yes, when there was disintegration of Soviet Union, what happened is the Regional Assembly of Nagorno-Karabakh voted to join Armenia, and leading to ethnic clashes between two communities. After Soviet disintegration, there was full-fledged war between these two countries. By the time ceasefire was reached in 1994, the rebels with support of Armenia and Russia had established their de facto rule in this region, Nagorno-Karabakh region, where the present conflict is going on. Okay, along this ceasefire line. So what is this threat of wider conflict? Because what makes the clashes now far more dangerous is external intervention. So external intervention by the Turkey and Russia, and we can say that in future, if these two countries involve, then there can be, let's say, full-fledged war between again some of the European countries and the world powers coming in between. Okay, so Turkey has called Armenia a threat to peace in the region. The Azeris and Turks share ethnic and linguistic bonds. This is also we have earlier talked about that yes, largely the Muslim population of Azerbaijan and Turkish population, or let's say the earlier Ottoman Empire connectivity, or let's say connection, we can say that about ethnic and linguistic bonds with the Azerbaijans or Azeris. Also the pre-Soviet Azerbaijan was local ally of Ottomans when they invaded this in the last leg of World War I. For Turkey, which under the President Recep is trying to expand its geopolitical reach to the former Ottoman regions. Okay, so this is let's say the conflict in this region is an opportunity to enter the South Caucasus region for Turkey. So Turkey also has particularly bad relations with Armenia, but its problem is that Armenia is the member of Russia-led Collective Security Treaty Organization, CSTO. Now what happens is, now if Armenia invokes, or let's say the provision of this CSTO, then Russia is bound to help Armenia, and that goes against Turkey. And if that goes against Turkey, means Turkey is being the let's say being the member of NATO, okay, North Atlantic Treaty Organization, that will bring all major European and let's say European powers and USA in that conflict. That's why the threat of wider conflict. Russia enjoys good economic and defense ties with both Armenia and Azerbaijan, but Armenia as a CSTO member hosts and host to Russian military base has more weightage. In a wider conflict, Armenia could trigger the Article 4 of CSTO treaty and ask for Russian help. If Moscow responds favorably, that would pit Russia against the Turkey, a NATO member. Russia, that is already facing many fronts, already involved in military conflicts in Syria, Ukraine and Libya, may not like opening another front. So, in conclusion, we can say that both sides should understand the volatile situation and call for call off the hostilities and go back to the ceasefire and open up diplomatic channels. Okay. So, that should be obviously the conclusion, or as a way forward we can say that peace should be established through ceasefire and diplomatic communication between two countries. Fine. So, this at present in international relations we can say that, or international events, the significant event that is going on geopolitical wave. Fine. Moving on to next article. Yes, the governance related article, a concerted attack on RTI. Earlier also we had discussed similar kind of article wherein the significance of RTI Act because of 15 years completion of implementation of this RTI Act and how this has fared. So, potential of this RTI Act and in recent times how the present government is reducing the provisions, or we can say that important provisions of this RTI Act through various amendments. Let us try to understand them. 15 years of RTI Act, this year marks 15 years of enactment of RTI, which has empowered millions to assert their citizenship and show truth to power. Right to information has been upheld by the Supreme Court as fundamental right flowing from the Article 19 of the Constitution, which guarantees every citizen right to free speech and expression. So, suppose there is question in prelims examination, right to information is implicitly mentioned in which of the following article of the Constitution or fundamental right of the Constitution. So, we have to understand that is not in Article 21, rather it is given in Article 19, freedom of speech and expression. Without access to relevant information, people's ability to formulate opinions and express themselves meaningfully is curtailed. So, this is very good statement. We can use this for let us say importance of right to information. Potential of the law. Every year nearly 6 million applications are filed under the RTI Act. Again, important fact you can mention in your answer, making it the most extensively used transparency legislation in the world. The large proportion of this is filed by the poorest and most marginalized. So, this becomes very much important for them as a part of empowerment to access their basic rights and entitlements. RTI Act has also been put to effective use by public spirited citizens. We can see the kind of role played by various NGOs to elicit the information through RTI and to shine the light on corruption and arbitrary abuse of power by the state. For example, recently information has been sought on the electoral bonds, and we can say that recently PM CARES fund also. Yes, by giving every citizen of India the right to access the government files and record, the law has potentially created 1.3 billion whistleblowers and auditors. Okay, so attack on transparency watchdog, how the government is reducing the powers of powers of institutions that are created under this RTI Act. For example, the worst blow to the RTI regime has come in the form of persistent and concerted attack on transparency watchdogs set up under the law. They are information commissions at center and states. In 2019, regressive amendments were made to RTI Act, which did away with the statutory protections of fixed tenure and high status conferred to commissioners. It allows central government to determine the tenure and salaries of all ICs, information commissioners. So, this has been the problem because this hampers or impacts the free and fair or independent working of these information commissioners, and that impacts as a statutory body, we can say that, and effective implementation of this law. Okay, the functioning of commissioners has been severely impeded by the government not appointing information commissioners in timely manner. This has been again one of the problem. Vacancies in information commissions leads to large backlogs of appeals and complaints and long delays in disposal of cases. Despite Supreme Court orders to fill the vacancies, 6 out of 11 posts of commissioners are currently vacant in CIC, including that of CIC, or we can say Chief Information Commissioner. So here what happens is CIC is headless for 5th time in last 6 years. So some important facts should be mentioned in your answer in support of your argument. You can see here every time they have given the argument supported by facts, given the argument supported by facts, and that should be your answer, or let's say nature of answer you are writing here. Okay, the right to question is the hallmark of democracy. Any attack on RTI law which has empowered citizens to question those in power is attack on foundation of our democratic republic. So we can say that by doing away with such statutory provisions, or let's say protection to the information commissioners and their tenure, it is clear reflection of lack of political will of the governments to be answerable to the people of the country. So in conclusion, we can say that as the RTI law completes 15 years, it is again time for those whom it empowers, that is citizens, to assert themselves and protect their fundamental right to information which they attained after long struggle. So yes, this is very much important that citizen जो beneficiaries है जिनको ये information मिलती है, they should be let's say asserting themselves and protect their fundamental right to information which has been, let's say, received after long struggle by the people. Okay, so yes, this is what we have to understand from this article. जब भी आपको governance GS2 में जो governance topic है, we can expect such kind of question in the GS2 part. Okay, and this year it is expected because last year there was amendment and it has significantly curtailed the powers of information commissioners. Fine. Our institutions are very patriarchal. Soumya Swaminathan, chief scientist at WHO. So in one of the speech at 4th Women Leaders in Global Health Conference 2020, she has expressed her view, her experience of working in Indian government institutions. So this becomes important for essay on gender equality or even GS1 topic. So her views are very much important because especially she is talking about government institutions related to scientific research. Okay, so yes, she is counted among the country's top scientists and public health expert, but Soumya Swaminathan, who is the chief scientist at World Health Organization or former DG of India's ICMR, it wasn't always easy to be heard as young researcher and women at that. She was often talked down and had her ideas dismissed. It was only after I started my career in the government research institution that I experienced the culture of male dominated committee room. Okay, so not in the educational institutions, rather government institutions where she worked, there was some kind of male dominated or patriarchal kind of attitude present. So that is when you felt you were being talked down to or made fun of almost, and then you become confident of expressing, diffident, not confident of expressing your opinion next time. I was in my 30s. So I think that is the way many of our institutions functions. They are very patriarchal. Okay. So her view is very much important. You can directly quote her view in your answers. Okay. The conference that was instituted, this conference, 4th Women Leaders in Global Health Conference, 2017 में first time हुआ था. So as a rallying point for gender equity in health. Okay, it is more difficult for women researchers to get their grants approved. Significantly smaller portion of research grant go to the women. Fine. The pandemic has brought to the fore several gaps in equal representation of women in decision making in national and global bodies. constituted to develop response to health crisis. For example, one study is done and which analyzed COVID-19 task force and expert committees constituted by 87 countries found that 85.2% of 115 identified COVID-19 decision making and expert task force had mostly men as members, while merely 3.5% had gender parity. So you can mention this fact in support of her arguments. Fine. So yes, essay GS1 gender equality. Fine. After talks failed to break impasse, China blames India for tensions. So follow up on India-China LAC standoff. Seventh round of talks between Corps commander talks held at Chushul, Eastern Ladakh, failed to reach agreement on disengagement. So again they are blaming each other for, let's say, built up of troops and infrastructure along the LAC for such kind of standoff. Following the sixth round on 21st September, both sides in joint statement agreed to stop sending more troops to the front line. Okay, so yes, recent we can say Corps commander level talks did not or shed no clarity on any possible timetable for disengagement. However, both sides agreed to maintain dialogue and communication through military and diplomatic channels and arrive at mutually acceptable solution of disengagement at early as possible. Fine. So yes, the release did not even mention return to the status quo prior to the May's transgressions by China. This is what China is not going to accept. We can understand that when looking at the present situation. Okay, so but India is continuously demanding this. Fine. Okay, so this was the follow up on India-China relations or standoff along the LAC, line of actual control. Yes, India's economy to contract by 10.3% this fiscal, says IMF. So Indian economy is expected to contract 10.3% in the current fiscal. So this is the fact that you can directly quote in the GS3 economy related or suppose there is question on economic contraction due to COVID-19. About IMF, International Monetary Fund is one of the two Bretton Woods institutions or twins, other being the World Bank or IBRD, we can say that. IMF became operational on 27th December 1945. ये ब्रेटन वुड कॉन्फ्रेंस 1944 में हुआ था और 1945 में ऑपरेशनल हुआ है IMF with 29 members as country. At present we can say that 189 member countries. Two reports are released, Global Financial Stability Report and World Economic Outlook. These two important reports are released by IMF. So any other state, whether or not member of UN, may become the member of IMF. However, membership of IMF is prerequisite to the membership of World Bank. This is a key information for prelims examination. On joining IMF, each member country contributes certain sum of money called as quota subscription, which is based on country's wealth and economic performance. Special drawing rights, SDRs, is IMF's unit of account and not currency. Quotas are denominated in SDRs. Okay. Members' voting power is related directly to their quotas. So there is voting powers, we can say that in decision making, and that is directly related to quotas. Main function of this IMF body to provide financial assistance to the member countries with balance of payments problems. IMF lends money to replenish international reserves, stabilize currencies and strengthen conditions for economic growth in the member countries. Okay. So this is the function, we can say that. Such kind of prelims question we can expect here. For practice purpose, we have framed this question. Global Financial Stability Report is published by World Economic Forum. So no, this is incorrect statement. We can say that this is published by IMF. So in general, UPC has tendency to ask one international organization report in prelims examination, though we can say that this year they have not asked, but for, let's say, past 2 to 3 years they have been asking such kind of reports. Membership in the World Bank is prerequisite to the membership of IMF. This is again incorrect, rather here it should be IMF, and here you can say that World Bank. Fine. So neither one nor two is the correct answer. Then 70% of virus fatalities are men in India, and eWIN network to handle COVID-19 vaccine supply. What is eWIN network? So eWIN network is our electronic vaccine intelligence network at present that is used for universal vaccination program that we have at present in India, and now this is being repurposed for the delivery of COVID-19 vaccine. Listing of healthcare workers would be completed by October end or nearly early November. Okay. So yes, we can say that Union Health Ministry cautioned those below 60 ignoring COVID-19 preventive measures. Nearly 14% of COVID-19 fatalities are those within 45 to 60 age groups with comorbidities, and 1.5 without comorbidities. So again we can say that we should not put our guard down and should take preventive measures, be it below 60 years of age or above. So yes, 70% of COVID-19 fatalities were men and rest women. We have 1% fatalities reported from below 17 age group and 18 to 25 age group. Fine. So our Niti Aayog member VK Paul urged public to use social vaccine against the virus, that is social distancing, and we can say that norms that should be followed. Pandemic is stabilizing, but winters are known to be conducive for spread of viruses. If we are not be careful, large gatherings for festivals could turn into super spreading events. Okay. Some basic information: eWIN is being implemented under National Health Mission by the Ministry of Health and Family Welfare in partnership with UNDP. Fine. Okay. Moving on. Single SBI branch for all FCRA accounts, government. So Foreign Contribution Regulation Act, recently it was amended. So Union Home Ministry has asked all NGOs seeking foreign donation to open designated FCRA account at State Bank of India's New Delhi branch by 31st March 2021. The ministry's order reiterated that NGOs registered under FCRA shall not receive any foreign donations in any other bank account from 1st April 2021. तो इसका background आपको पता होना चाहिए that FCRA Amendment Act 2020 was let's say provided the new provision that makes it mandatory for all NGOs and associations to receive foreign funds in designated bank account at SBI's New Delhi branch. So it was already inserted in the legislation through the amendment. Okay, the ministry said to open the account, the applicant need not to visit the New Delhi, we can say this particular branch here in Delhi, and they might approach the nearest SBI branch and their SBI branch of choice. Fine. So ये जो न्यू दिल्ली मेन ब्रांच बोल के उन्होंने ओपन किया है खास FCRA अकाउंट्स के लिए. Okay, so complete whole India, those NGOs which are registered with Ministry of Home Affairs, they should be having their account to receive the foreign funding in the particular branch in New Delhi. Fine. This is the basic information that or the current development that we should know about this act. This is again the part of governance GS2. Okay. So some important captions and quotations. So जो RTI related हमने जो article पढ़ा है, okay. So RTI related there can be question in GS2, there can be question in GS4, even in ethics there is right to information topic and essay. So you can use these captions and quotations in these through papers, 3 papers. Fine. So yes, these were important articles in today's The Hindu newspaper. For further information on editorial discussion classes or ED classes, batch of this course is going to start this week. So for further information on that batch, you can contact Lukman IAS. Thank you.